If I had respected my daughter's privacy, I would be dead. I never imagined a simple piece of paper could save my life. My name is Mariana. And it all started that October morning. I looked at my daughter's face and didn't recognize who was in front of me. Her eyes were the same ones I saw when she took her first steps, the same ones that shone when she got a doll at 7 years old, but now there was something different. Something cold, distant, something that made my heart race at 3 a.m. for no reason. If someone had told me that in less than 72 hours I would face the greatest betrayal a mother can experience, I would have laughed. I would have said that I knew my daughter, that I raised her with love, with limits, with values. But there are things that we only understand when it's too late, and this is one of them. I just didn't know that. Among my daughter's dirty clothes was the reason I was still alive. Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from. It's amazing to see how far these stories go. And please subscribe. It really helps me share more of them with you. I'm 47 years old. I've been a literature teacher for 23 years. And I've always believed that education and dialogue are the foundation of everything. My husband, Roberto, is an engineer, one of those serious men who keeps his emotions to himself, but is always present. We built a good life. We weren't rich, but our house in Pardizes was comfortable. 3 bedrooms, a small garden with my roses, a dining room where we always made a point of eating. Together, our daughter Isabella was 19 when everything started to fall apart. She studied law at a private university. That took up almost half of my salary. But we insisted. It was our investment in her future. Isabella was always an intelligent girl, perhaps too intelligent. He got good grades effortlessly, had a way of talking that convinced anyone, and knew exactly what to say to each person. I used to think this was a quality. Today I know it was manipulation being honed from an early age. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the kitchen that morning. It was Saturday, October 13th. I remember I was making pancakes, the ones Isabella loved with chocolate sauce. She walked down the stairs slowly, wearing that oversized boyfriend t-shirt I hated seeing on her. His hair was messy. His eyes were puffy, from someone who had cried, slept poorly, or both. "Good morning, my love." I tried to sound natural. "Did you sleep well?" She picked up a cup without looking at me. So. The silence that followed was one that weighs heavily. I could hear the living room clock ticking away, each tick louder than the last. Roberto had left early to play tennis, as he did every Saturday. It was just the two of us, me and this stranger living in my daughter's body. "Isabella, we need to talk." My voice came out firmer than I expected. She finally looked at me. About Daniel. About what's happening to you. I saw her shoulders tense, her jaw tighten. These were signs I'd learned to recognize over the past few months, signs that she was building a wall between us. "Nothing's going on, Mom. You're the one who's inventing problems where there aren't any." Making trouble. That phrase had become a mantra over the past few weeks. Every time I questioned why she was late, why she'd stopped hanging out with her old friends, why her mood had changed so drastically, the answer was the same. I was making trouble, but I wasn't making it up. I had proof. At least I thought I did. 3 weeks earlier, I'd found her credit card statement, the one we paid, of course, thrown into the bathroom trash. Isabella was always careful with these things, always keeping everything organized. The fact that it was in the trash was strange enough. When I opened it and saw the amounts, my stomach churned. 4,000 raise in purchases in the last month. Expensive restaurants, men's clothing stores, even a jewelry store. All in places she'd never been before meeting Daniel. I confronted her at the time. I remember I was making dinner, chopping onions, and I didn't even realize my hands were shaking until I cut my finger. The blood dripped onto the white marble countertop before I felt the pain. "Isabella, we need to talk about your expenses." She was on the couch, glued to her phone as usual. She didn't even look up. "What expenses? 4,000 raise in a month? Isabella, you know we can't afford that." That's when she stood up, slowly, with that look I'd begun to dread. "Did I ask you for something?" "I'm working, Mom. I'm paying for my things." "Working where? You barely go to college anymore. How are you working?" "I do some freelance work. Graphic design. Daniel taught me. Daniel. Always Daniel." Everything revolved around this boy who had appeared in her life 6 months earlier and become the center of her universe. Daniel Ferreira, 23 years old, no college, no steady job, living in an apartment in Pinheiros that was too good for someone without a steady income. When I asked where his money came from, Isabella said he was investing. At 23. Of course. Isabella, I haven't seen you working on anything in the last few months. Why don't you come into my room without asking, Mom? You don't see everything I do? I was right. I'd stopped going into her room after that nasty fight in August. The day I found weed in her drawer, and she told me I was an outdated prude who didn't understand her generation. Roberto wanted to give me a more serious scolding, but I asked him to leave it to me. I thought I could resolve it through dialogue. That I could make her understand we were concerned, not controlling. What a mistake. Now, on that Saturday morning, with the smell of coffee and pancakes in the air, I was holding a piece of paper in my hand that changed everything. A piece of paper I'd found in her coat pocket when I went to do the laundry. A piece of paper I wasn't supposed to see. Isabella, I said, placing the paper on the table between us. What is this? She looked. The color drained from her face in seconds. Literally. It was like watching paint being washed away. Her lips turned white. Her breathing changed. Did you go through my things? I went to wash your clothes. It was in your pocket. It was a list. Handwritten, in her handwriting that I knew so well. The same handwriting she used to write me love letters when I was little. The same handwriting she used to make funny notes and stick on the fridge. But there was nothing funny about this list. Spare keys, check parent drawer, alarm, code 2809. Time, after 11 p.m., Tuesday or Wednesday best. I'd read this about 20 times since I'd found it Thursday night. I'd tried to find an innocent explanation. Maybe it was for a surprise party. Maybe it was for... what? What surprise party needs spare keys and a specific time after 11 p.m.? Isabella, explain to me what this means. She grabbed the paper tightly, crumpling it. It doesn't mean anything. It's a script idea Daniel's writing. We were playing around with creating a suspense story. Script. My voice came out flat. Our home alarm code is part of a script. I took it from real life to make it more realistic. Artists do that, Mom. Artists. Daniel had become an artist now. Last week he was an investor. Last month he was a digital entrepreneur. The kid had more professions than a video game character. Isabella, sit here. I pointed to the chair in front of mine. Please, she hesitated. For a second I saw my little girl there. That uncertainty in her eyes, that desire to open up. But it only lasted a second. The wall rose again. I don't have time for this right now. I have to go. Go out where? It's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. I'm going to meet Daniel. We have plans. What kind of plans need to start at 8 in the morning? She was already heading for the stairs. Plans for people with lives of their own, Mom. You should try it. Her bedroom door slammed shut. I heard the key turn. She had locked it. My daughter had locked her bedroom door in my own house. I stood there, holding the pancake spatula, smelling the pancake burning in the pan. I didn't move to put out the fire. I just stared at the stairs, at that closed door, feeling like I was losing something precious and didn't know how to hold on to it. The phone rang. It was my sister Julia. Marie, good morning. I wanted to know if you're going to your mother's birthday party next Sunday. My voice came out automatic. Of course. We never lose. And Isa? I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't seen her in a while either, I thought. Not the real Isabella. She's kind of busy with college. Oh, I can imagine. But try to bring her, will you? Mom asked about her the other day. She said she missed her at the last family gathering. When I hung up, I realized I was crying. Silent tears that had fallen without me even noticing. I wiped them away with the back of my hand and finally turned off the stove. The pancakes were black, completely burnt. I threw them all in the trash. That's when I saw through the kitchen window. Isabella leaving through the back door. She never used the back door. She always complained that it creaked and was hard to open. But there she was, sneaking around as if she didn't want to be seen, looking around before slowly closing the door. Something in my chest tightened. That tightness a mother feels when she knows, really knows, that something is very wrong. I went upstairs. I stood in front of her bedroom door. I knocked. Isabella? Silence. Isabella, open the door. Nothing. I turned the doorknob. Unlocked. I opened it slowly, half expecting to find her inside, ignoring me with headphones on. But the room was empty. The bed was made, something she never did. The study table was too tidy, too clean. That's when I saw her laptop half open on the bed. The screen was lit. I know I shouldn't have. I know invading privacy is wrong, that trust is the foundation of everything. But in that moment, with that tightness in my chest growing stronger, I moved closer. The screen displayed a WhatsApp web conversation. With Daniel, of course. I started reading, and with each line, I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. Daniel. I spoke to Marcelo. He confirmed that he can get everything we need. Isabella. And is he trustworthy? Won't things go wrong later? Daniel. Relax, my love. The guy is a professional. He's done this before. Isabella. I'm scared. Daniel. Afraid of what? You said yourself that they'll suffocate you, that they'll never leave you alone, that they'll control your entire life. Isabella. I know, but it's different when it's real, you know? Daniel. Baby, listen. If we don't do this now, it'll be too late. Your dad's starting to get suspicious. He talked to his lawyer last week. My heart stopped. Roberto had spoken to a lawyer? About what? Why hadn't he told me? I continued reading. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped the notebook. Isabella. Did my father speak to a lawyer? Daniel. Marcelo saw him entering an office. The one in Faria Lima that deals with inheritances and stuff like that. Isabella. Shit. Daniel. Exactly. What do you think he's going to do? Leave everything to you? Just fine? He knows we're together. He hates you with me. Isabella. He doesn't hate me. Daniel. No? Then why does he keep saying I'm a bum? That I'm using you? He wants to lock you in a bubble, Isa. They both want it. Your mother, then, not to mention. The woman is neurotic. I was neurotic. I was neurotic and paranoid and making up problems. That's what my daughter thought of me. Isabella. Maybe if we just waited for them to die naturally? Daniel. And wait how long? 20 years, 30? We'll be 50 when we get the money. What kind of life is this? Besides, your father is changing his will, I'm sure. Why else would he have gone to an inheritance lawyer? Inheritances. Wills. The words danced before me. My vision began to blur. Was I actually reading this? Or was I having a nightmare? Isabella. What if it goes wrong? Daniel. It won't work. Marcelo knows what he's doing. It'll look like a robbery. A home invasion. These things happen every day in Sao Paulo. No one will suspect anything. Isabella. When? Daniel. Tuesday. After 11 p.m., you leave the back door unlocked. Turn off the alarm. Say you're sleeping. And leave the rest to us. Tuesday, 3 days from now. My knees buckled. I sat on her bed, still holding the laptop, rereading those messages as if reading them again would mean something different. But they didn't. They said exactly what I'd understood the first time. My daughter was planning something. Something involving the back door. The alarm. Someone breaking in after 11 p.m. Somebody called Marcelo who knew how to do it. To do what? Rob us? Hurt us? Kill people? No, this was crazy. I was freaking out. I was misinterpreting everything. It had to be a script. A macabre prank. My daughter wouldn't be able to, but she had written, what if it goes wrong? She had written, I'm scared. She had written all that, and she hadn't denied it when Daniel talked about getting the money. The dough. Our money. Our inheritance. My phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a message from Roberto. I finished early. I'm going to the market. Do you need anything? I tried to type a reply, but my fingers wouldn't obey. How could I tell him? How could I say, honey, I think our daughter is planning something against us? It sounded like something out of a bad movie, a Mexican soap opera. It wasn't possible, but the messages were there, black on white, or rather blue on the screen, real, concrete. I took a screenshot of everything. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. I sent it to my own phone. Then I carefully closed the laptop, leaving it as it was. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. My hands were sweating cold. I went down to the kitchen on autopilot. I turned the coffee maker back on. I watched the coffee drip, that constant, comforting sound. Normal, as if everything were normal. But nothing was normal. Roberto arrived half an hour later, carrying grocery bags and a smile on his face. He was tanned, his gray hair slightly sweaty from his sneakers. My husband of 24 years. Isabella's father. The man who worked 60 hours a week to give us a good life. And my daughter was... Honey, are you okay? You look pale. He dropped the bags and came over to me. I found something. What thing? I showed him my phone. The screenshots. I saw his expression change as he read. Confusion at first. Then disbelief. Then something darker. Anger, maybe, or fear. Or both. What? What the fuck, Mariana? It was on her laptop. Open. I saw it and... Did you invade our daughter's conversations? He was still trying to maintain some logic, some normal procedure of a father who discovers an invasion of privacy. Roberto, forget about it. Read it again, carefully. He read it. Once, twice, 3 times. I saw it when it got to the Marcelo part. The part about it's going to look like a robbery. The part about Tuesday after 11 at night. The cell phone almost fell out of his hand. No, it can't be what I think. What are you thinking? He didn't answer. He walked to the counter, leaned against it, and took 3 deep breaths. When he turned to me, tears were in his eyes. Roberto never cried. In 24 years of marriage, I'd seen him cry twice. When his father died and when Isabella was born. She wouldn't be able to. Roberto... She wouldn't be able to, Mariana. She's our daughter. I know she's our daughter. My voice came out louder than I intended. You think I wanted to believe that? But it's there. It's written. He says, getting everything we need. She says, if it goes wrong, he says, make it look like a robbery. It may be misunderstood. It may be, the code for our alarm is on the list I found in her pocket. The date is Tuesday. In 3 days, silence. A silence so heavy, it seemed to suck the air from the kitchen. The living room clock continued its relentless ticking. It was 9:43 in the morning on Saturday, October 13th. In 74 hours, something was going to happen, and I had no idea what it was. But I knew, with that visceral certainty a mother has, that it was something terrible. We need to talk to her, Roberto said finally. Now, bring her here and make her explain what the hell this is. She left. Through the back door. She went to find him. Daniel. The name hung between us like a curse. The boy who had appeared out of nowhere and become the gravitational center of our daughter's life. The boy she defended tooth and nail even when he treated her badly. And I'd seen him treat her badly, seen him give her the cold shoulder, make her cry, manipulate her with that frightening ease. And yet she came back. Always came back. I should never have let her date that guy, Roberto muttered. I knew it. I felt it from day one. It was true. Roberto had felt it. That day in May, when Isabella brought Daniel to dinner for the first time. He'd arrived an hour late and didn't even apologize. He'd been on his phone for half the meal. When Roberto asked about college, he gave a vague answer about not believing in the traditional education system. When he asked about work, the same thing. I don't believe in having a boss. He had that arrogance of someone who'd never achieved anything but thought he was better than everyone else. And Isabella drooled. She looked at him as if he were the best thing that had ever happened to her. She laughed too loudly at his lame jokes. She touched his arm constantly, as if needing confirmation that he was there, that he was real. After dinner, when they left, Roberto had said, "That boy is trouble." I had laughed. Honey, all first boyfriends seem terrible to their parents. It's not that. There's something wrong with him. The way he looks at things in the house, the way he talks, the way he treats her. He's young, insecure, he's trying to impress. Mari, trust me. This guy's going to be trouble. I should have listened. I should have paid more attention to Roberto's instincts. But I didn't want to be that mother. That controlling mother who doesn't let her daughter live, who keeps an eye on everything, who doesn't trust. I wanted to be modern, understanding, give her space. What a mistake. Roberto's cell phone rang. He answered, still looking at me, with that expression of someone trying to understand how life had turned upside down in half an hour. Hello? Yes, it's me. What? When? No, I didn't make any inquiries. Look, I think there's a mistake. He hung up. He stood there processing. Who was it? A law firm. Talking about an appointment I was supposed to make last week. About probate and inheritance. His stomach churned. Daniel mentioned it in his messages. He said that Marcelo saw you entering an office. But I've never been in any office. I haven't made any appointments. His voice was rising. Is someone following me? Is that it? Is this crazy Marcelo following us? It wasn't just paranoia. The pieces were starting to fit together in a way I didn't want to accept. If someone was following Roberto, keeping watch, reporting to Daniel, this wasn't teenage pranks. This was planning, organization, real intent. We need to go to the police, I said. And what can we say? That our daughter is on WhatsApp talking to her boyfriend about what exactly? They didn't say anything specific. There's no way to prove intention. He was right. The messages were suspicious, yes, but vague enough to be open to other interpretations. A good lawyer could argue that it was all misunderstood, figurative language used by young people, a movie script. And what did I have? Cell phone screenshots and a list scribbled on paper. So what do we do? Wait until Tuesday to see what happens? Roberto ran his hand through his hair, a gesture he made when he was desperate. We'll cancel. Simple. We won't stay home on Tuesday. We'll make up a trip, go to a hotel, anything. And what's the solution? They're going to reschedule. And we're going to keep running away? Do you have a better idea? I didn't. I stood there looking at my husband, seeing the desperation in his eyes. 24 years together, building a life, raising a daughter, thinking I was doing everything right. And now this. The front door opened. Footsteps. Isabella had returned. She walked into the kitchen and stopped when she saw our faces. What's wrong? Why do you guys look like that? Roberto was direct. Isabella, what are you and Daniel planning for Tuesday? I saw the blood drain from her face, just as it had drained from her face this morning when I showed her the paper. She went pale, her lips white, her hands trembling slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Tuesday, after 11, someone coming in through the back door. Alarm off! I spoke each word slowly, looking into her eyes, looking for my daughter there, looking for the girl I had raised, who I had loved, who I thought loved me back. Did you read my messages? Her voice was thin, high-pitched. Did you invade my privacy? Isabella, answer the question! Roberto insisted. I have nothing to say. You're sick. Paranoid people who don't trust their own daughter. Then tell me I misunderstood, I begged. My voice was cracking. Explain to me what those messages are. Explain to me why you have our alarm code written down with a specific time and date. Make me believe it's not what I think it is. She opened her mouth. Closed it, opened it again. She was searching for words, searching for a convincing story. I knew that expression. It was the same one she'd used when she was little and had broken something and was trying to make up an excuse. It's a college project, she finally said. We're writing a script for our criminal law class about home invasions. That's why I have this information. What teacher asks for a break-in script using real information from students' homes? Roberto wasn't buying it. Let's be realistic. You don't understand anything about modern teaching methodology. Isabella, my voice was firm now, firmer than I felt. Look at me. In the eyes, and tell me the truth. She looked at me. For 3 seconds, maybe 4. And in those seconds, I saw everything. I saw that she knew I knew. I saw that she was scared. I saw that something was very, very wrong. And I saw when she decided to lie anyway. I already told the truth. You're the ones who are crazy. She left the kitchen. She went upstairs. The door slammed again. The key turned in the lock again. Roberto and I stood there staring at each other, unsure of what to do. The clock continued ticking. Every second brought us closer to Tuesday. 2 after 11 p.m., to the moment when something was going to happen, and we didn't know how to stop it. I'm going to talk to Daniel, Roberto said suddenly. I'm going to his house, and I'm going to have a man-to-man talk. I'm going to make it clear that whatever he's planning, I'm going to find out, and he's going to be screwed. Do you think this will help? Will he listen to you? I don't know, but I have to do something. I can't just sit here waiting. He left. He grabbed his car keys and drove away without looking back. I was left alone in the kitchen. The coffee was already cold in the mug. The grocery bags were still on the counter, the food warming at room temperature. I should put it away. I should do something useful. But I couldn't move. Everything seemed to be happening in slow motion, as if my brain couldn't process at normal speed. My daughter was planning something with her psychopathic boyfriend. Something involving the house, the alarm, late at night. Something Daniel had said Marcelo knew how to do. Something that would look like a robbery, and Roberto had gone to confront Daniel alone. A man who was planning, what, a real robbery? Something worse? I picked up my cell phone and called Julia. Mari, what's up? Is everything okay? Julia's voice sounded so normal, so far removed from the reality I was living. I could hear children screaming in the background. Her nephews playing. Normal life, normal family. Ju, I need to talk to someone. Sure, love. Speak up. How did I explain? How did I put into words something I could barely believe myself? It's about Isabella. Is she okay? I don't know. My voice was shaking. I don't think so. I think I lost her, Ju. What do you mean you lost? What happened? I told her everything. The expenses, the strange behavior, the messages, the list. I heard the silence on the other end as she processed it. Mariana, you need to go to the police. Now. Roberto said it's no use. That there's no concrete proof? Yes, there is proof. There are the messages. There is the list written in her handwriting. There is the suspicious behavior. Mari, Listen to what you're telling me. Your daughter could be involved in something very serious. You can't just ignore it. But what if I'm wrong? What if I'm misunderstood? I'll destroy my relationship with her. I'll expose her to the police. And if in the end it's just what? A college project? Mari, wake up. You know your daughter. You know when she's lying? And from what you've told me, she is lying. Julia was right. I knew it. Deep down, in that place a mother has where instinct resides, I knew Isabella was up to something terrible. But accepting it meant accepting that I had failed. That all those years of nurturing, of love, of dedication had produced someone capable of… what? I couldn't even think of the word yet. Roberto went to talk to Daniel. Alone? Alone. Mari, you let him go alone to confront a guy who might be planning to break into your house? The panic I was trying to hold back exploded. Shit, Ju, I have to go after him. Go. And then you two go straight to the police station. Promise. I promise. I hung up. I grabbed my purse and my keys. I ran upstairs to get Daniel's address, which I'd written down on a piece of paper months ago. When I got to my room, Isabella was standing in her doorway, watching me. Where are you going? To look for your father. He went to talk to Daniel, didn't he? It wasn't a question. It was an observation. And there was something in her voice. Fear, maybe? Or guilt. It was. And I'm going to bring him back. Mom? She took a step toward me. Don't go, please. Why? Because Daniel doesn't like to be confronted. He might reacting badly. What an interesting expression. As if we were talking about a child throwing a tantrum, not a potentially dangerous adult. Then tell me what he's planning. Tell me the truth and I won't go. She opened her mouth. For a second, I thought she was going to speak. But then she shook her head. Nothing's planned. It's just not going to happen. Trust me. Trust you? The words came out harsher than I intended. Isabella, have you given me any reason to trust you in the last 6 months? I saw the hurt cross her face. But this wasn't the time for that. I walked past her and down the stairs. I heard her following me. Mom, wait! I didn't wait. I got in the car and left. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing on the sidewalk, cell phone in hand, calling someone, Daniel for sure, letting him know I was on my way. His apartment was 20 minutes away. 20 minutes that felt like 2 hours. The traffic was heavy, typical of a Saturday afternoon in Sao Paulo. Every red light was torture. I didn't know what I'd find. I didn't know if Roberto was okay. I didn't know if I was doing the right thing. The building was one of those modern ones in Pinheiros, all glass and steel. A 24-hour doorman, cameras everywhere. How could a 23-year-old kid with no steady job live in a place like that? The question I should have asked months ago. The doorman stopped me. Where are you going? Apartment 1504, Daniel Ferreira. Is he waiting? My husband came up a little while ago. Roberto Andrade. He checked the computer. Yes, there's a Roberto registered here, but I need to call to confirm that you can come up. League, he dialed. He waited. No one answered. He tried again. Nothing. They must be talking, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Please, it's important. I need to go upstairs. I'm sorry, ma'am. Without authorization, I can't release it. I thought about forcing it, about rushing through the turnstile, but there were 2 large security guards near the entrance. It wasn't going to work. That's when my cell phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mariana? It was Daniel's voice. Calm. Cold. Your daughter called me. She said you're downstairs. Where's Roberto? Here you are with me. We are having a very productive conversation. I want to talk to him. Sure. Sound of phone being passed. Mari? Roberto's voice sounded strange, tense. Are you okay? Yes, I'm talking to Daniel. It's enlightening. Enlightening how? Silence. Then Daniel came back on the line. Mariana, why don't you go home? Let your husband and I finish our man talk. When we're done, he'll be back. I promise he'll be back in one piece. Entirely. The word gave me chills. I'm not going anywhere without it. Oh, yes, it will. Because if it doesn't, things could get unpleasant. For Roberto and for you. Understand? It was a threat. A direct threat. This psychopath was threatening me on the phone. If you lay a finger on him, what do? Call the police? And what do you say? That your husband came to my house uninvited and now you're worried. Mariana, you're being paranoid. Your husband is fine. We're talking about business. About the future. About inheritances and stuff. Very civilized. The line went dead. I stood there, holding my cell phone. The doorman looked at me with that expression of someone who'd seen desperate people before and couldn't do anything. Are you okay, ma'am? No, you need to call the police. Do you have an emergency? How did I explain? That my husband was in the apartment but couldn't come down? That my daughter's boyfriend was threatening him but hadn't done anything yet? My husband, he needs help. Can you call the police? The doorman hesitated. He looked at the security guards. They approached. Ma'am, we need to know exactly what's going on. That's when I saw it. Roberto coming out of the elevator. Walking normally. No visible injuries. Alone, Roberto. He came to me. His face was pale, but he was whole. He was fine. Let's go, he said, taking my arm. What happened up there? Not here. In the car. We got in the car. I drove a few blocks before stopping at a gas station. I parked and turned to him. He speaks. He ran his hand over his face. He took a deep breath. When he spoke, his voice was trembling. He confessed. Confessed what? Everything. The plan. Marcelo. Tuesday. Everything. I felt my blood freeze in my veins. What do you mean you confessed? Just like that, out of nowhere. It wasn't out of the blue. I confronted him. I said I knew everything. That I had seen the messages, that I was going to the police. And he started laughing, Mari. He laughed in my face. Are you laughing? He said the police weren't going to do anything. That it was my word against his. That the messages were ambiguous. That there was no proof of anything. And then he showed me the plan. Did you show it? Roberto took his cell phone out of his pocket. I was already recording the audio since he started talking. When he opened the cabinet and displayed the weapons, 2 photographed the map and the arsenal. With trembling hands, he showed me a photo. It was a document, a map of our house, with all the entrances marked, all the rooms, places where we kept valuables, safe, documents, everything. Where did he get that from? From Isabella. She drew it. She explained everything to him. Where we sleep, what time we usually go to bed, if we wake up easily with noise. Everything, Mariana. Our daughter gave this guy a complete manual on how to break into our house. I couldn't hold it back. I started crying, sobs that came from deep within. 24 years of raising a person. 24 years of love, dedication, sacrifice. And she had drawn a map of our home to make it easier for anyone who wanted to hurt us. There's more, Roberto continued. He showed me guns. He has 3 guns in his apartment. He said they were for Marcelo, that they were to make sure we don't wake up in the middle of the night and mess up our plans. Weapons. The guy had weapons. He was going to enter our house armed. And Isabella knew. Isabella had helped plan it. Roberto, what does he want? He wants us to disappear. He wants the house, the possessions, the inheritance in advance. He said that if we're smart, he'll leave São Paulo for a few days on Tuesday. He'll travel, go to the beach, anything. That when he comes back, he'll find the house broken into, something stolen, but we'll be alive. And that Isabella will inherit everything in a few years when we die naturally. What if we don't go? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The answer was in the weapons. It was in Marcelo. It was in the whole plan. He gave me until Monday to decide. He said that if I don't send a message confirming that we're going to travel by Monday night, Tuesday will happen as planned. No negotiation. I stared at the map of our house on his phone screen. Our house, our home. The place where we'd raised Isabella, where we'd celebrated birthdays, Christmases, family dinners. Everything transformed into an invasion plan. Now we're going to the police, I said. Now we have proof. We have the map, we have the direct threat, we have illegal weapons. He said that if we go to the police, the plan will change. That he and Marcelo will disappear, destroy all the evidence, and wait. Months, years. And when we least expect it, when we let our guard down, it happens. He said he prefers to resolve this in a civilized way, with us leaving on good terms. But if we make things complicated, he will make things complicated too. It was blackmail, psychological terrorism, and it was working. I could see it on Roberto's face. He was scared. I was scared. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was a real concrete threat with a set timetable. And Isabella, does she know about all this? He said she knows part of it. That he didn't tell her about the weapons because she couldn't handle it. But she knows the basic plan. That Marcelo goes in, takes the things, fakes a robbery. She just doesn't know that it could have worse consequences. What a horrible euphemism for saying we could die. Let's go, I said suddenly. What? Let's leave São Paulo now, today. Me, you, and Isabella. Let's go to Julia's house in Floripa. Or anywhere far from here. And then what? Do we just run away for the rest of our lives? At least we stay alive. Roberto was silent, processing. I could see the thoughts playing out on his face. The anger, the fear, the profound sadness of realizing his daughter had become this. "Let's do it differently," he finally said. "Let's pretend we're going on a trip. We'll send a message on Monday saying we're leaving Tuesday morning, but we're not going. We're staying. And we'll be prepared. Prepared how? I'll call Henrique. He's a police officer. I'll tell him everything, show him the evidence. We'll take the audio and photos to him now and request the warrant. We'll set up an ambush. When Marcelo shows up Tuesday night, the police will be waiting. And Isabella?" The question lingered. Isabella, who would be arrested together. Isabella, who would have a criminal record. Isabella, who would be sent to the system as an accomplice to attempted murder. Was that it? Was that what we were talking about? "She made her choice," Roberto said, and there was a hardness in his voice I'd never heard before. "We gave her everything, and she chose this path. Now she has to face the consequences." We walked home in silence. Isabella was in the living room, on her cell phone. When we entered, she looked up. Guilty, scared. Still my daughter, somehow. Still the girl I'd rocked, comforted in nightmares, taught to ride a bike. "Have you talked to Daniel?" She tried to sound casual, but her voice shook. "We talked," Roberto said dryly. And we're going on a trip. Tuesday morning. We've decided we need some time away." I saw relief wash over her face. Briefly, but it passed. She thought it had worked, that we had swallowed the threat and were out of the way. "That's cool. Where are you going?" "Beach. Ubatuba. A few days of rest." Roberto was lying with frightening ease. "Do you want to come?" "Oh, I can't. I have a test next week. I need to study." Proof. What a joke. As if college mattered to what she was planning. "Okay. You stay. Take care of the house." He went upstairs. "I'll pack." I stood there with her. My daughter. My traitor. I didn't know how to look at her anymore. "Mom?" She leaned closer. "I'm sorry about earlier. I know I was rude. It's hard, you know. You guys don't like Daniel, I know. But I love him. And it's hard to be in the middle of this war. As if it were about him not washing the dishes or being rude. It wasn't war. It was crime planning. Isabella, answer me one thing." "Really?" "What? You love me?" She blinked. Surprised. "Of course I love you, Mom. What kind of question is that? Then why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" She would keep pretending. Until the end, she would keep lying. Never mind. I went upstairs. I couldn't stand looking at her anymore. In the bedroom, Roberto was indeed packing his bags. "We'll need to sell this lie well," he said. "We'll leave Monday morning with our bags. Go to a guest house in Ubatuba. But we'll be back Monday night. Go through Donna Helena's house, through the backyard, and through the back door. He'll hide in the attic. When Marcelo arrives Tuesday night, we'll have him. What about the police? Henrique is coming with his team. They'll be in an unmarked car on the back street. When I give the signal, they'll come in. It was a plan. Risky, but it was a plan. Better than nothing. Better than sitting around waiting to see what happened. The rest of Saturday passed in a blur. I feigned normalcy. I made dinner. I watched TV. Meanwhile, Roberto was in the office, talking quietly on the phone with Henrique, organizing everything. Isabella had dinner with us. She joked. She laughed. As if nothing was happening. As if she hadn't drawn a map of our house for criminals. As if she weren't an accomplice to something horrible. When she went up to her room, Roberto showed me a message from Henrique. Confirmed. Tuesday, 11 p.m. My team will be there. That same night, with the audio recording on Roberto's cell phone and photos of the map and weapons, Henrique took everything to the judge on duty. At 10:50 p.m., the surveillance and arrest warrant were authorized. The operation would be set up discreetly, and the team would go into action only on Tuesday, at the time set by the criminals. Sunday passed even more slowly. We went to my mom's house, pretending everything was fine. Isabella stayed home, studying, or telling Daniel that the plan was on, that we were going on a trip, that Tuesday was free. Monday morning, we left early. Bags in the trunk. Isabella hugged us goodbye. Enjoy. Send me a picture of the beach. Let's send it. I lied. It was lie after lie now. Everyone was lying to everyone. What a beautiful family we had become. We drove to Ubatuba. A 3-hour drive? We stayed at the inn until 8 o'clock at night. Then we headed back. Another 3 hours of driving in the dark, our hearts pounding, wondering what the next day would bring. We arrived in Sao Paulo around midnight. We parked 2 streets behind our house. Donna Helena, our 80-year-old neighbor, was awake waiting. Roberto had explained everything to her, an edited version without the heavier details. "You can come through my yard," she said. I left the back gate open. "But for God's sake, be careful. We entered our own home like thieves." Through the back door that led to Donna Helena's backyard, the door Isabella would leave unlocked on Tuesday night. The irony was not lost on us. The house was dark, silent. We went straight up to the attic. There was an old mattress there that we used when the water leaked. It would be our bed for the next 24 hours. Tuesday was the longest day of my life. We stayed up there, silent, listening to life go on below. Isabella woke up late. I heard her humming in the shower. Humming as if it were any other day. Around 3 in the afternoon, the doorbell rang. Voices. Daniel had arrived. They remained in the living room. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but I could hear their tone. Excited, confident. At 7, Daniel left. Isabella ordered pizza. She ate it while watching Netflix. Life was normal, while Roberto and I huddled in a dusty attic, sweating in the heat, waiting for our own daughter to hand the house over to the criminals. At 9:30, Isabella went upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close. Roberto looked at me in the darkness. "This is it," he whispered. He sent a message to Henrique. "Target arriving in 1:30. Be ready." The response came within seconds. "On site." "Standing by." The clock had never moved so slowly. 9:40. 10 o'clock. 10:15. Every minute felt like an eternity. I held Roberto's hand so tightly my nails must have been hurting him, but he didn't complain. 10:30. A noise downstairs. Subtle. A door opening. The back door. Someone had come in. Steps. Light. Calculated. More than one person. At least 2. Roberto took out his cell phone and typed the message. "They're in." Henrique's response. "Wait for my signal. Don't expose yourself." We froze, listening to the sounds of people moving around our house, rummaging through, looking for things. Low voices, almost whispers. And then a louder voice. "Isabella. The documents are in the office. The safe is behind the painting." She had gotten out. She was leading them. She wasn't pretending to sleep like she'd said she would. She was actively participating in the robbery. "Good job, princess." Daniel's voice. "Where does your father have the key to the safe?" "It must be in the bedside drawer. But be careful. He wakes up easily. Don't wake up." A third voice. Deeper. Older. It must be Marcelo. "No one wakes up where I walk." There was something in the way he said it that made my blood run cold. It wasn't the confidence of a seasoned thief. It was something worse. Something definitive. Roberto noticed too. His fingers trembled as he typed, "Now. Enter now. Henry." 10 seconds. The longest 10 seconds in history. And then, it all happened at once. The front door exploded. "Police, nobody move!" Screams, running, Isabella screaming. "No, it wasn't supposed to be like this!" The sound of a struggle. Something breaking. A gunshot. One shot. The sound echoed as if time had stopped. For a second, I heard nothing else. No shouts, no footsteps, just the dry bang reverberating inside me. Roberto and I ran down the attic stairs. The house was full of police officers. Daniel was on the ground, handcuffed. An older man, Marcelo, was also on the ground, but he was bleeding. He'd tried to fight back. He'd drawn a gun. The officer had shot him in the leg. And Isabella, my daughter. She was leaning against the wall in shock, looking at it all in disbelief. When she saw me, she started crying. Mom, I can explain. It wasn't supposed to be this way. I didn't know." "You didn't know what, Isabella?" My voice was cold. "That stealing from your own parents was wrong? That bringing armed criminals into your home could go wrong? He said it was just a scare. That you would go away scared and leave me the house. That no one would get hurt. And you believed it?" Roberto said. Tears were streaming down his face. "Did you really believe that a guy with 3 illegal guns and an accomplice with a murder record would just give you a scare? Homicide. Marcelo had a record for homicide. Isabella had brought a murderer into our home." Henrique approached. "We'll have to take her too." "I know." Roberto nodded. "Take it." "No." Isabella screamed. "Mom, do something. Don't let them take me." I looked at her. My daughter, my girl. And I felt nothing. Just a huge void where love used to live. "You made your choices, Isabella. Now you will face them." They took her away. Handcuffed. Crying. Screaming that she hated me. That I was a traitor. that I had set her up. Daniel went along, silent, cold until the end. Marcelo went in an ambulance with a police escort. Henrique stayed a little longer. You'll have to testify tomorrow. And probably testify at the trial. People know. I'm sorry. I know it's not easy. It would have been easy to remain blind, Roberto said. Thank you for believing in us. When we're alone, we sit on the living room floor, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the broken pieces, literally and metaphorically. We could have died, I said. I know. If we hadn't discovered it. But we found out. Our daughter. Roberto, our daughter was going to let us be. I couldn't finish my sentence. I started crying again. Roberto hugged me. We cried together on the floor of our violated home for the daughter we lost long before she was arrested. The days that followed were a blur. Testimonies, lawyers, Isabella trying to make excuses, changing her story constantly. First, it was all Daniel's idea. Then she knew nothing. Then she'd been manipulated. Then she knew, but thought it was just to scare us. Marcelo gave everything in exchange for a reduced sentence. He said Daniel had paid him 10,000 reais to solve the problem with his girlfriend's parents. That the original plan was to make it look like a robbery gone wrong. That he was going to come in armed, wait for us to fall asleep, and do what he had to do. Isabella would have inherited everything. The apartment was worth $1.5 million. The assets, investments, and insurance added up to another 500,000, $2 million. That was the price of our lives for our own daughter and son-in-law. The trial was swift. Too much evidence. Messages, a map of the house, Marcelo's testimony, the weapons found. Daniel got 12 years. Marcelo 20. Isabella got 8 years. My daughter was going to spend 8 years in jail. I went to visit her once, 3 months after her arrest. She was different, thinner. Her hair was colorless. Her eyes were lost. You came? Because silence. We didn't know what to say. How do you fix something so broken? I'm so sorry, Mom. I know it's no use, but I'm so sorry. So sorry. What exactly are you sorry for? For planning? For getting caught? Or for failing? For everything? For believing him? For losing my mind? For even considering doing this to you? Why, Isabella? Why did you do it? She stared at her hands. I don't know. He convinced me that you were the problem. That you were holding me back. That I would only be happy when I was free. And to be free, I needed the money. But you would control the money forever. Unless you weren't here anymore. And that made sense to you? Killing us made sense? I didn't think like that. I didn't think about the word kill. I thought about it as removing an obstacle. It's sick, I know. Looking back now, it's absurd. But when you're inside, when someone is convincing you every day that your parents are bad, that they hate you, that they just want to control you, your mind gradually accepts it. That was it. Daniel had manipulated her, but she had let him. She had chosen to believe. And that choice had irreversible consequences. I can't forgive you, Isabella. Not now. Maybe never. I know. I stood up. I had nothing more to say. When I got to the door, she called out, Mother. I turned around. If you guys hadn't found out, if Tuesday had gone the way it was planned, I don't know if I would have been able to live with the guilt afterwards. But you would have tried. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. She lowered her eyes. She didn't deny it. I left. I never came back. 2 years passed. Roberto and I sold the house. We couldn't live there anymore. Every room held memories, and they were all poisoned now. We bought a smaller apartment in a different neighborhood. We started over. Therapy helped. Hours and hours of unraveling where we went wrong, what we could have done differently, how we missed the signs. The therapist always said the same thing. You didn't fail as parents. Isabella made choices. Her own adult choices. Conscious ones. But it's hard to believe that when your daughter is in jail because she planned your death. Julia visited me every week. She brought her nephews, life, noise, normalcy. Little by little, I learned to laugh again. Small moments, a silly joke, a funny movie, the taste of coffee in the morning. Roberto took longer. He carried a different guilt. As a man, as a provider, as a failed protector, it took him almost a year to be able to talk about Isabella without his voice breaking. She sent me a letter. He told me one day. It was Sunday. We were in the new apartment, drinking coffee on the small balcony overlooking the street. When? Last week. It arrived in the mail. What does she say? He took the envelope out of his pocket. Crumpled. Read and reread several times. He passed it to me. I opened it. Her handwriting. That handwriting I knew so well. Okay, I know I have no right to write. I know I've done unforgivable things. But I need you to know a few things. Daniel died. Last week, a fight inside the jail. He was stabbed 3 times. He didn't survive. When they told me, I felt nothing. No sadness, no relief, just emptiness. And I realized I never really loved him. I loved the idea of being free, of having no rules, of not having you controlling me. What a joke, right? You never controlled me. You just wanted to protect me. I go to therapy here, twice a week. The psychologist says I have narcissistic personality disorder, that I've always sought external validation, that Daniel saw this and used it, that I was vulnerable and he took advantage. But that doesn't absolve me, Dad. I know that. A diagnosis is no excuse. I've been thinking a lot about the birthdays you guys threw for me, the times you woke me up in the middle of the night when I was sick, the fights you avoided so I wouldn't stress you out, how everything you did was out of love, and how I repaid them by drawing a map of our house for the bandits. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I remember, that I know what I lost, and that the greatest pain isn't being trapped. It's knowing that I destroyed the only people who truly loved me. I still have 6 years left here. When I get out, I'll be 27. You'll be in your 50s. Maybe you'll be grandparents if I'd given you grandchildren instead of a criminal conviction. You don't need to reply to this letter. I know it must hurt to see my name. I just needed to say it. One last time. Sorry will never be enough. But I'm sorry anyway. Isabella. I folded the letter and handed it back to Roberto. We sat in silence for several minutes. Daniel died, I said finally. He died. And do you feel anything? Relief, I guess, that he won't manipulate anyone anymore. He won't destroy any more families. What about Isabella? Roberto sighed. I don't know. Part of me still loves her. She's my daughter. I can't turn it off. But the other part doesn't recognize who she's become anymore. She's trying to recover. Therapy, reflection. 6 years too late? He was right. It was too late. Too late to fix what was broken. Too late to erase what was done. Too late to be a family again. 3 years later, on an October morning, 5 years after that Tuesday that never happened, I received another letter. But it wasn't from Isabella. It was from her lawyer. Dear Ms. Mariana, I'm writing to inform you that your daughter, Isabella Andrade, suffered a serious incident at the women's prison where she is serving her sentence. She was attacked by other inmates and is in critical condition in the prison hospital. Doctors are unsure if she will survive the next 48 hours. As her parents and closest relatives, you have the right to visit her if you wish. Sincerely, Dr. Mauricio Santos. I read it 3 times. Then I passed it to Roberto. I saw the color drain from his face. Are we going? He asked. Do you want to go? I don't know. She tried to kill us, Mary. She planned it. She drew a map. She brought a killer home. Should we feel sorry for her? She is our daughter, too. It was. It was our daughter. This person in the hospital? I don't know who she is anymore. But we went. Of course we went. Because no matter what had happened, no matter how much love was buried beneath layers of betrayal and pain, there was still something. A remnant. A memory of what was. The prison hospital was depressing. Gray walls, the smell of cheap disinfectant, bars everywhere. They took us to a room at the end of the hallway. 2 guards stood at the door. Isabella was in bed, hooked up to machines. Her face was swollen and purple. I barely recognized her. 5 minutes, the guard said. We went in. We stood beside the bed. Isabella opened her eyes. Only the left one, the right one, was swollen shut. You came. The voice came out hoarse, difficult. We came, Roberto said. Why? Because, he hesitated. Because you're our daughter. Tears streamed from the eyes she could open. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve you guys coming. No, I agreed. You don't deserve it. But we came anyway. The doctors said, I don't know if I'll make it past tomorrow. What happened? A fight. Over nothing. One of the girls said I thought I was better than the others. That I was a preppy girl who killed her parents. And it escalated. A preppy girl who killed her parents. That's how she was seen. Not as the girl we took pictures of on the first day of school. As a failed murderer. Isabella. Roberto approached. He took her hand. Are you afraid of dying? I do, but not of death. I'm afraid of dying without having fixed it, without having become your daughter again. You'll never be that again, I said. I had to be honest. That Isabella died when you handed the keys to our house to Daniel. What you might be now, I don't know. Someone different. Someone better? Perhaps. She closed her eyes. She breathed heavily. If I survive, when I get out, can I try? Try to be someone you can look at without feeling disgusted? Roberto and I exchanged glances. There was so much weight in that question. So much uncertain future. So many wounds that would never fully heal. You can try, Roberto said finally. But no promises. No guarantees. We'll be alive. Thank God and despite you. But we don't know if we'll be able to forgive you. Fair enough, she whispered. The 5 minutes were up. The guard knocked on the door. You need to leave. At the door, I turned one last time. Isabella was looking at us. With that swollen eye, that disfigured face, that broken body. My daughter, my betrayer, my greatest pain, Isabella. Try, fight to survive. Not for us, for you. Because you deserve the chance to become someone better than you were. She survived. 3 weeks in the hospital, 2 surgeries, but she survived. She went back to jail and went back to serving her sentence. And us, we keep living, learning to laugh again, to trust again, not completely, never completely, but enough. To love again, other people, new friends, ourselves. Roberto started playing tennis again. I started painting again. We traveled to Europe, something we had always wanted to do. We had dinner with Julia every Friday. We became godparents to our nephews and nieces. We built a new life on the ruins of the old one. Sometimes, on difficult nights, I still wake up with my heart racing. I dream of that Tuesday, of what would have happened if we had not found out, if the messages had not been opened, if the paper had not been in my pocket, if. But I also wake up with Roberto by my side. I wake up in our safe house. I wake up alive. And that, after all, is enough. Isabella gets out of prison next year. She will be 27. She has a whole life ahead of her. I do not know if we will be there when she gets out. I do not know if we will be able to look at her and see anything other than the girl who betrayed us. But I know one thing. We survived. We survived the worst betrayal a parent can experience. And if we survive that, we can survive anything. The doorbell rang on a Thursday afternoon. Roberto was in the kitchen making that risotto he had learned to make in Italy. I was on the porch painting roses, my roses, which I never planted again after selling the house, but which now lived on my canvases. Are you answering? Roberto shouted from the kitchen. I went downstairs. I looked through the peephole. And I froze. Isabella, she looked different. Thinner, short hair, simple clothes. No makeup, eyes downcast. She had a small suitcase at her feet. I opened the door slowly. Hi, Mom. Isabella. I got out yesterday. Probation, good behavior. I know. The lawyer warned me. Ah. She fidgeted with her hands, nervous. I didn't come to ask for anything. I didn't come to live here or ask for money. I just came to thank you for coming to the hospital that day, for giving me a reason to fight. I didn't know what to say. I looked at her, this 27-year-old woman who was once my daughter, and tried to feel something. Anger, love, anything. What I felt was weariness and a gentle sadness. For the family we would never be again. For the mother and daughter we could have been. Where are you staying? I asked. I have a reintegration shelter. I'm going to work at an NGO that helps ex-prisoners. I'm going back to college. Distance learning. I'm going to rebuild. Good luck with that. Thank you. She picked up her suitcase. I won't bother you. I promise. But I'm still in therapy. And my therapist said it would be important for me to apologize. In person, looking you in the eye. You already apologized. In letters, but not like this. Not with you two in front of me. She took a deep breath. Mom, Dad, Roberto had appeared in the doorway. I'm so sorry. From the bottom of my heart, for the rest of my life, I will be. I know this doesn't change anything. It doesn't erase what I did. But I needed you to know. Roberto came down the steps. He stood beside me. He looked at Isabella for a long moment. We forgive you, he finally said. Not because you deserve it, but because we deserve it. We deserve to live without this weight, without this anger. So, officially, you're forgiven. But, I continued, forgiving isn't forgetting. And it's not going back to the way things were. Do you understand? I understand. You can move on with your life. Rebuild. Be a better person. We're rooting for you from afar. But there won't be Sunday lunch. There won't be Christmas together. There won't be any going back. Tears streamed down her face. I know, I knew before I came. Just thank you for not hating me, for still rooting for me, even from afar. She turned to go. She took 3 steps. She stopped. Mom, yes? Do you still paint? Yes, I still paint. Roses? Roses, she smiled sadly. That's good. I've always loved your roses. And she left, walking down the street with her small suitcase without looking back. A 28-year-old woman who destroyed her own family before even using a gun, who broke blood ties with paper, pen, and poisoned ambition. Roberto hugged me. We stood there, at the door of our apartment, watching her disappear around the corner. Do you think she'll make it? He asked. Make what? Become a better person. I don't know, but it's not our problem anymore. We went back inside. I closed the door. Locks, alarm, security, things I have always had since that Tuesday that almost happened. Roberto went back to the risotto. I went back to my roses on the canvas, and life went on. Without Isabella. But it went on. My name is Mariana. I'm 52 years old. I survived my own daughter's betrayal. I survived a murder plot inside my own home, with my own values, my own love, being used as a weapon against me. If you are reading this, if you are listening to my story, pay attention to the signs. When your child changes drastically, when they stop talking to you, when a boyfriend or girlfriend becomes the center of everything and you become nothing, when your questions are called paranoia, when your love becomes a problem, pay attention, investigate. Don't be afraid to be annoying, controlling, or invasive, because there is a line between privacy and danger. And when you cross that line, privacy no longer matters. I crossed that line. I read messages that weren't for my eyes. I took papers that weren't meant for me. I invaded spaces that weren't meant for me, and that's why I'm alive. If I had respected Isabella's privacy, Roberto and I would be dead today. She would be spending our inheritance, and probably feeling guilty, but guilt doesn't bring anyone back to life. So, yes, step in when necessary. Ask questions when you are suspicious. Confront when you see something wrong. Be the annoying mom, the neurotic mom, the paranoid mom. Be the living mother. And you? What would you do in my place? Would you have the courage to invade the privacy of someone you love if you suspected something like that? Tell us in the comments. Your answer might give another mom courage. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories that prove love saves, but only when it comes with courage.